Do you know how to find the highest quality fly fishing locations to create lasting memories on your next trip? Would you like to be the first ever to fish a new section of private water? RJ Hosking is here to take us into RareWaters, a brand that is disrupting fly fishing so you have a better experience next time you are on the water. This is the Wet Fly Swing podcast where we show you the best places to travel to for fly fishing, how to find the best resources and tools to prepare for that trip, and what you can do to give back to the fish species you love. Hey, I'm Dave, host of the Wet Fly Swing podcast, and I've been fly fishing since I was a kid. I grew up in a fly shop and have created one of the largest fly fishing podcasts in this country. I've also interviewed more of the greatest fly anglers than just about anyone in the world. Today, RJ Hosking takes us into his background working with Patagonia and what he learned from Yvon Chouinard in over 17 years at Patagonia, and why these private rare waters are not for the 1%, but for the rest of us, you and me, who have a limited budget and a limited time to fish each year. Plus, you're going to find out how you can craft a trip that meets the budget and gives you a season pass to epic waters in the West. Trip planning time. Here we go. RJ Hosking from RareWaters.com. How you doing, RJ?
Well, I'm doing great, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you spending some time with us today. We're going to talk about, I think, an interesting new topic. I think you've mentioned to me, industry disruptor, private waters. I know we were on a trip in New York a couple months ago, and I know we fish a lot of public water, but we saved one day to hit a private section. And I remember on that trip, one of the guys that was there was had the trip of his life. Well, two guys, actually, because they're on the private water. So I feel like private waters is something that maybe some people don't know a lot about. Maybe they think it's like this uppity thing, but I'm guessing that it's probably not. So you're going to explain some of that today. Before we get into all that with RareWaters and everything there, talk about how you got into fly fishing and kind of what's your first memory.
Yeah, that's great, Dave. Thanks. Appreciate being on the show. And my history with fly fishing essentially goes back all the way to my early childhood. Grew up in Northern California near Tahoe, and it's what my family did. So I kind of grew up fishing and really found love, in particular with fly fishing, probably in my college years. Really took a deep dive of traveling and getting out there and seeing some other watersheds beyond just what was beyond my home water. And so I kind of grew up doing it. Grew up with doing it with my family. My father taught me and so forth. So very typical kind of upbringing in the industry. And then really took a deep dive post-college and actually landed a gig at Patagonia. And so I just had a heart and passion for fly fishing as a whole. And they're obviously, one of the big players in our industry is Patagonia, and fell in love with the sport and the brand and kind of their mission and their values and what they were behind. And quickly after college, after traveling the world with my wife, I landed a gig at Patagonia and began my career in the industry. Wow,
that's really awesome. I think that I don't know how many times Patagonia has come up on this, but I'm excited whenever it does because I feel like it's it's just a good, not everybody, all brands do everything great, but I feel like they've done some great stuff. And we had Yvon Chouinard on the podcast recently in episode 536 with him and Craig Matthews. And
oh, right on.
Yeah, Yvon talked about the story. He talked a lot about the story of how he did it. And again, it was really surreal for me to be sitting there with him talking about, this billion-dollar company he made. But, the cool thing I remember on that one is that we started off with talking about the fleece. This is at the end. At the end, I was like, hey, I've got this R2 fleece, man. This thing is amazing. How is it so amazing? And he basically said, you know what? Do you know how many microfibers go into the water stream from fleece?
Oh, yeah.
And he started talking about how he's creating with Samsung this new washing machine that takes out 99% of microfibers. So do you know, I always use that because it just shows you this guy never lets up. He's always thinking about it. What was your take? What did you learn from being at Patagonia and from Yvon?
Yeah, I'm incredibly grateful for the time and the experience I had there. I was there for quite some time, about 17, 18 years.
Wow.
So yeah, first gig out of college and just ended up sticking around. Never thought I'd be there as long as I did, but it was an incredible opportunity. And actually, you brought up Craig Matthews too. Definitely have collaborated with him as well. And it's just been, all the way to what I'm doing now, I'm just incredibly grateful for the experience I had with them and the team in general. They're really kind of groundbreakers in our space, and was just incredibly blessed to be able to have that opportunity with them, just changing the industry in pajamas in his living room.
Right.
So I don't know, I'm just incredibly grateful for that opportunity. And what I learned was that, Elon, he's human, but anytime that he did the right thing, it ended up being profitable. And I've just taken that with me to everything that I've done moving forward. And so that just kind of stuck with me. And obviously, business principles and a lot of the values and kind of the mission-driven beliefs that I kind of grew up in the real world, in the business world, I kind of taken with me into all my kind of future ventures to where I'm at today. So,
Gotcha.
And I got to do a little fishing in between all the hard work. So we worked hard, played hard. So
Perfect.
Yeah, it was great.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. So tell me about the R2. So what Yvonne didn't tell me much about the R2. So tell me that.
Well, it just happened to be one of the first products I actually purchased as well. This is pre-Patagonia, before I was working at Patagonia. R2 was like one of the first fleeces I bought. So it was just the fact you brought it up is just kind of fun.
Oh, there
it's
you
probably
go.
Like the original R2 fleece.
Yeah. So you're with Patagonia, one of the great companies out there leading the way. And now talk about did you go right in from there, right into RareWaters, or maybe talk about how you made that into where you're at now?
Yeah. So right post Patagonia, it was right during the time of when COVID hit. And so my family and I had a desire. We actually were drawn to Bend, Oregon over the summers. We actually had a little camper van of all things. And we always ended up in Bend for at least a few weeks, up to a month. During the summer months with our kids, I have 3 kiddos and a rad wife, and we would hit the road a lot, traveling the West, and always found ourselves in Bend just because we loved it. Had an opportunity to explore doing something totally different than what I was doing at Patagonia. And so I just started having a conversation with a company called Dometic, which they're very large in kind of the RV space. And they were on a tear in the outdoor industry of acquiring, I think it was 9 different companies the year that my family and I moved up to Bend. And so I had an opportunity to be part of an M&A, kind of merger and acquisition stage of business of the small company, producing solar panels for Sprinter vans and overland rigs and RVs. Dometic was in the process of buying them. And I was courted by this company called Zamp Solar to help with this big merger. And it was something that I needed to do. I kind of reached my peak at Patagonia in terms of career. Didn't necessarily want to be the next CEO, and just kind of reached, I was running the fish product line with an incredible, world-class team and Yvonne Chenard at the helm, and kind of did everything I wanted to do in the dream job, kind of checked all the boxes off. And I was kind of looking for next steps. And this opportunity came up. And so I spent 2 years doing a successful kind of transition through this M&A with Dometic, and then learned that oftentimes it's more important to learn what you don't want to do in life than what you want to do. And I learned that I didn't want to work for a $9 billion multinational organization, just not cut from that cloth. And so we did fairly well with that. I ended up leaving that. We ultimately wanted to be in Bend, back up in the mountains, being close to trout and water, and just in the mountains doing ski, snowboard deal and mountain biking, and really got to scratch that itch with my littles and get to offer that experience to them. And then I was doing some consulting on the side, figuring out next steps in kind of the career path. And there was a venture capitalist group that was looking to invest in this small fly fishing company called RareWaters. It was the first time I've heard about it. And I was happy to help consult for this VC group, and quickly did a deep dive in this company called RareWaters. And my first reaction was, what the heck is this? And why didn't I think of it? I quickly gave my services and kind of gave them my real gut check of the company, and really believed it had a lot of legs and felt like it was something that could very much impact the industry for the better. And so I told them straight up that I said, hey, I think there's something here. I do think that, you should seriously consider investing with them. Quickly after my consulting period there, I got in touch with the founder of RareWaters and just kind of introduced myself. And I was interested in investing with them because I knew he was going through an investment round. got a little bit under the hoods and just realized that RareWaters not only, was looking for help in the funding, but it was also, I felt like there was something I could bring to the table in terms of like a sweat equity play. And so long story short, had real no intention of actually working with RareWaters. Sometimes it's just how that goes. I ended up flying out to Denver, where they're based in Colorado, met the board of directors and met the founder, and one thing led to another, and I accepted a role as CEO to help run and partner with the founder of the company. And that was roughly about a year and a half ago.
Oh, wow. Wow. So you're right. You're in the middle of this. This is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. And it's been a wild ride. I call it the Wild West. We're still in very much a startup phase, trying to figure this thing out. We're very much an industry disruptor, and it's been an incredible journey so far.
Yeah, I love that. I think industry disruptor. Whenever I hear that, it makes me smile a little bit, because I think that that's what every industry needs. We need checks to make sure we're doing the best. And so, talk about that. What are you doing out there that's a little different than other folks?
Yeah, so RareWaters is probably best known as the Airbnb for the fly fishing industry. And we essentially link landowners who happen to have incredible pieces of water running through their property with anglers that would love to fish it. So we are essentially a tech platform very similar to the likes of HipCamp, Airbnb, VRBO, and those kind of platforms, where we essentially link the two together into a seamless transaction, and landowners essentially get an incredible opportunity for passive income, as well as bring on great people onto their property. And in turn, anglers get to fish some fantastic, what we would call platinum type properties that have never been opened before to the public. So it's a pretty neat gift to bring to both sides of this marketplace.
Amazing. Yeah. So if you look at it, go to the site, you've got Colorado, Montana, a lot of the western states. So if you look at any of these places, say, like Diamond Arrow, right? You've got one in Carbondale, Colorado. I mean, these are places where you could go there. Maybe talk about that. What does that look like if somebody was, maybe they're in this area? Talk about how the process works.
Yeah. It's very much like if you are familiar with booking a place to stay on VRBO or Airbnb or say hotels.com. You essentially just go onto our website at rarewaters.com and you pick via, by destination, by where you're going or heading. And every property is unique in terms of what's available or what's provided for the ultimate experience. But if you click on any of the properties, you can search via map or by state. We have folks that do, like multi-day road trips and try to link, several properties together for having like a week-long vacation where folks can visit a bunch of properties in a week's time. But essentially, you just go on, you click on the property, you can read customer, like real angler reviews, and see if this property is what you're hoping, and be able just to book it right then and there. It's a very seamless process. You can check to see if the date's available, the price, and you just go through the booking process, and you get notified within the same day of your booking and get locked and loaded, and you get to go access many of our properties. When I began a year and a half ago, we had roughly 21, 22 properties available on our platform. And today, within a short period of time, we have just shy of 60 properties, and we have about 4 coming on board this week, actually. So we are growing significantly. We're very much on a growth stage of our business, and we are targeting we'll have just shy over 100 properties by the end of this year. So it covers all over the west of the Rockies. And right now we're in, and you can see it on our website, but we have majority of our properties in Colorado because that's where we began. But we also have properties in Montana, Wyoming, Oregon, Idaho, Washington, and California. So yeah, we're starting to get our name out there and being able to provide these epic properties for many of our anglers.
Yeah, I see it. No, this is great. I'm just looking at some of these places, and definitely you're hitting on some of the big rivers I see around the West. And how do you do that? How do you choose? That's always the challenge, right? You got all these places. There's probably people listening now in New York with lots of private, water places maybe they could fish. How do you scale out and get this so people all over the country are able to access it in their backyard?
Yeah, it's it's been that's part of the Wild West, I guess, of the early stages of RareWaters. We have actually more opportunity than we know what to do with at this point. And we've been advised, like we have an incredible team on our board, and we have a lot of advisors and mentors as we're navigating how to properly get this business off the ground and for it to be, wildly successful. And one of the things that has been hammered to both myself, Brendan Stuckey, the founder, and myself is that, there's a lot of shiny balls and a lot of opportunities out there. And as an entrepreneur, it's very, very important to really stay focused on what you know well and really perfect that before moving on. And we really took that to heart. We have people from the East Coast asking, hey, we've got property here, at X state, Y state, Z state, and we'd love to, we see what you guys are doing in the West. We'd love, I think our property is perfect for, incredible brookie fishing and so forth. And it's like, yes, we just need a little bit of time. We're trying to build our base and really build critical mass with a primary focus within probably a 4-hour drive from Denver, Colorado, because that's the majority of Western trout fishing happens in and around those parts, and really getting the business case solved before we really expand across the nation. But it is definitely on the horizon, and we're excited to really reach out, and we want to do it in and this goes back to the Patagonia days, in a very organic, very thoughtful way, rather than just shotgunning it and hoping it all works out. And selecting properties, to your question, we have a very extensive list of criteria that every property has to meet. We'll go and we'll visit properties and we'll see them. There's oftentimes, more often than not, we'll actually, not sign the property up on our platform because what we're after are a number of things to ensure that when an angler books a RareWaters property, that there's a level of expectation on the quality of the property that is both, stuff that you can put your finger on. That's, just the realities of what makes an epic trip. And then some of the stuff you can't quite put your finger on. So kind of the awe-inspiring, breathtaking views and just the overall experience, whether you're catching trout or not, that's something we don't guarantee that you'll catch trout. But I can guarantee you that most, if not all of our properties you'll come away knowing that you just had quite the experience,
right,
for you, your buddies, and your family.
Stonefly nets, nestled in the heart of the Ozarks, Ethan, a master craftsman, dedicates his skill to creating the finest wood landing nets. Stonefly nets are more than just nets. They are part of our story, each cast and every cast. Ready to make your fly fishing trips unforgettable? Visit stoneflynets.com and discover the difference of a handcrafted wood landing net. Skwala Fly Fishing, combining advanced materials with fishing-focused, purpose-built design. Skwala waders, jackets, shirts, pants, and insulation are made for us. To help Wet Fly Swing listeners right now, Skwala is offering a 10% discount on your next order. Just visit skwalafishing.com and use the coupon code WetFlySwing10 at checkout. That's Skwala, SKWALA. Gear for us, the serious angler. What would that look like? So if somebody's thinking here, they're listening and this sounds good. I mean, I think that part of it is the private water. So some of these places you go to and you hear about these stories where it's like combat fishing and you can't even get in. I think of, you got one here. I'm looking at some rivers I know from around, whether that's Idaho, Oregon. You got some in California as well. But what would be what are those things like finding high quality place? What is your criteria? Can you clarify that a little bit? Like what the kind of those bullet points that they get out of each of these places?
Yeah. Kind of the whole idea around the company during its early days and the ideation phase of the business was really around how do we solve the problem of combat fishing, right? The founder is based in Denver, Decker's is famous area. And it is, often, you go down in that zone of the Platte and, every parking spot can be full of cars, especially on the weekends and busy times. And you can be literally 30 yards from another angler. And it was really taken away from what, our anglers and for most people, what they're after. This is a much bigger conversation than just landing trout, and landing fish. And, there's something more that we're all chasing. And RareWaters, kind of the vision behind it was to really address that and really go back to why we're all in the pursuit of these trout on the feathered hook. And, the criteria behind all of our properties is how, we set limits on how many anglers can visit a particular property. And it's really based on the length and stretch of water. We generally don't put more than 4 anglers on a mile stretch of water. So you can imagine kind of the vast separation or space. So we really limit the amount of people that can access the properties. And that's due to just for overall angling experience, as well as just for trout and habitat, and making sure that we're providing an incredible experience for the next anglers and the next party that would arrive. So there's definitely the impact on the watershed is probably the foremost criteria that we look for. Length of water, the quality of the watershed, if it's fishable or not, as well as, how close it is to any major metropolitan area, right? Because distance, like, is somebody willing to drive 6 hours versus an hour outside of town? Like that plays into it as well. How, if the road's accessible, a lot of the places that, that we have, if they are remote, sometimes it's part of the adventure, right? Where, getting there is often can be half the excitement or half the fun, depending on how remote it is. And essentially, anglers will just get, directions to one of our properties once they book a single property with us, and you'll get directions how to get there, if there's any gate codes that you need to go through, and it's just part of the whole experience. And then we also have properties that, about half of our properties offer camping. So you can actually stay overnight and fish for a handful of days if you'd like. And, the whole camping element and having a fireside, chat with your friends and family right on the river is, something that is quite special. And then we have a couple properties as well that offer lodging. So houses or actual typical lodges as well. So it's just depending on what the angler's after, for day use, as well as lodging or camping as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's great. No, I think that's the camping adds another factor too, and lodging, and that, yeah, I mean, you could go, like you said, the Airbnb, you could go or even pay for a campground. That's not going to be cheap, and so you guys could package the whole thing, camping, everything right in that thing.
Yep, correct.
So I guess maybe I'm thinking destination. So you guys, like you mentioned, you've got these areas, kind of western states. I mean, if somebody was on here and they're thinking about heading to Wyoming, Montana, these western states, what's the process? Do they kind of say, like, where are they going first? Or do you have some top, like, here are the top 5, 10 places where you might, are most kind of recommended or most reviewed places?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave. If you were to go onto rarewaters.com, you can kind of check out properties by state. You can look at it via map. So depending on the region or zone you're going to, so you can look at it like with pin drops on a map, or you can actually book and review properties based on the number of reviews as well. We know that word of mouth and actual angler reviews is paramount in choosing properties that our anglers love to fish. So if the properties score really high, 5-star reviews, more often than not, people trust other anglers' reviews. And after you read through them, you can kind of get way more lay of the land of what to expect for an angling experience for the day of fishing on a particular property. And that's very straightforward, just as if you were to book, camping or lodging for any of the, popular websites that you see today. It's very intuitive for an angler to go on and book a property and kind of check it out. So it's, just depending on how you want to sort. We also have kind of like filters. So like if you have dogs, you can filter by, what properties allow dogs, what properties allow for camping, lodging, and so forth. And as our program or as our platform continues to refine and develop, we're going to offer more and more kind of filters to be able for an angler to quickly filter out exactly kind of what they're after.
Gotcha. No, this is cool. And I think part of this is awesome because it is private, it restricts, like, you can control the impacts, like you said. So if you, maybe what would be, say, a top 3 of what do you think? Do you know, like, your top 3 places out of all your destinations?
That's a tough one.
Is that a tough one?
Yeah.
I'm looking at one. Let's just go by reviews. I'm looking at just by reviews. If I go to Colorado, I see a few that have a lot more reviews.
Diamond Arrow.
Yeah, Diamond Arrow, Arkansas River,
correct.
Arkansas Headwaters.
a lot of that plays for how long the property has been on the platform as well.
Oh, right.
So these
Sure.
are,
Gotcha.
it's a historical deal. So our older, longstanding relationships with our landowners and the properties that we have on our platforms, more and more folks have just naturally visited those properties. So they often get reviewed more and they get booked more. And, I'd say, for example, Diamnero, you mentioned that property in particular in Carbondale. Yeah, it's an incredible stretch of water. Has some of the coolest camping. We actually just hosted what we coined the Colorado Collective at this property, when we brought together about 8 or 9 Colorado-based brands in our space, so in the fly fishing industry, from a rod company, reel company, fly company, nonprofit, you name it. We brought together what we're coining the Collective, and the whole theme behind it was bringing the leaders of these companies together for a 2-day offsite, essentially, to strategize on how, as the tide rises, how can we best support one another as all the boats rise, and really partnering and supporting our industry to help with the betterment for all of the brands, because we're essentially playing all in the same space. We all have the same customers, so how can we support one another? And this property in particular can host really large groups for those special events. Say if you're doing a company, an offsite or a sales team meeting and so forth. It's, this is way better than sitting in a conference room at a hotel. I can guarantee that. So you can't really, it's one of those things. And let alone the fishing is obviously fabulous. The streamer fishing on this property is phenomenal. So it's just one small example. And, you can quickly review the property, the profile. Obviously you can read the reviews. Customers can leave photos of the property and the fish that they have landed. And you can quickly, scroll through a description of each of our properties that is crafted by our team that has visited and actually been and fished the property and met with the landowner. And we give a lot of information up front to the best of our ability so that the expectations are met. I mean, we don't want to have any huge surprises, right? So we're very clear on what the property is and what you could expect in terms of like a customer expectation front. We also give river data. We link all the local fly shops around that area that can help support any do-it-yourself angler that doesn't necessarily have a guide with them, that you can quickly see what's going on for a hatch and kind of the bugs that you recommended by a local fly shop. And you can, ideally we love supporting brick and mortar fly shops within our industry, all those family run businesses, and if we can drive customers to their door before they land to one of our properties, that's a win-win for all. So we're really a conduit, although we're an industry disruptor, because this is very different than what has been done in our industry in the past. We're coming alongside all of these brands and all of the people that support the fly fishing space to help with the betterment of everyone within the industry.
Right on. Why do you think this it hasn't been done? I mean, maybe it's been done, but not quite like this. Why do you think, this is happening now? Do you think other folks haven't done this yet?
That's a good question. I'd say off the top of my head, it's a couple things. I think it's just where we are in terms of tech, like Uber and Airbnb wasn't around 10 years ago, or maybe they have been, but it hasn't become a household name until recently. Correct. Right. So there is like a tech play with our phones that it's, everything's available and you can book now over your phone. When you're in the Denver airport, you can book one of our properties and be there the next day type deal.
Right.
The tech play has definitely played a part in this. And then also, like the fly fish industry, to its demise, in my humble opinion, this is one man's opinion that's been in the industry for a while, like the clubs and the $5,000 to $100,000 membership type of programs and lodges, like that caters to a particular people group, right? Just it tends to cater towards the upper 1% of the 1%. And in our industry, like if there isn't incredible pieces of water and the only opportunities that you have is to fish public water where you're combat fishing elbow to elbow with individuals, that's a real detriment to our industry as a whole. And my bigger vision is to get way more, women and children, way more diversity in our space. It's very, typical white male, upper middle class income, and there's just so much more opportunity out there for folks that have an incredible time in the water. But if you're combat fishing and the fish are so used and so particular with certain flies, and you have to match perfectly and all the stuff that comes with high impacted areas, it's really hard for people that are interested in the sport to have a great time and to really want to go back, if that makes sense. And if we can come alongside and offer something different, and we're not going to guarantee that you're going to catch a ton of fish or some record, trophy fish, but we're giving you the best chance of having an incredible time, then, I think it's a betterment for our industry as a whole as far as growth. And we're kind of bucking the system a little bit in terms that most of our properties, it's very affordable. It's roughly, I think on average, you can book a RareWaters property for about $150 a lot. And you're accessing places, that I would say rival most, $50,000, $100,000 club experiences.
Right, because that's the model. That's kind of the part of the old model is that it's out there, is that the club, you can buy into a club. I'm not even sure what those cost, but you get access to certain private sections of water, and if it's a big club, maybe you get more.
Yeah, and I would just say, and I don't hate on clubs or memberships. I think there's a place for that, and and I've personally have been to a couple amazing places like that. But there's a huge demographic of people in our space that can't do that. And if we can come alongside the industry and provide that as as an opportunity where you don't necessarily need to, battle and trying to find parking in some of these spots on public watersheds, if we're able to take a handful of those people actually away from those public watersheds, actually environmentally better impacts the fish and the riparian habitat by, getting perhaps maybe less people on those public places and bringing them onto our properties, it's a win-win on both sides, on the environmental front as well. And, for $150, it's a cost to play golf or be on a ski out for the day. It's a very attainable opportunity. And we don't require, you don't have to have a guide either. So you can, we've really based this on a DIY. You can bring a guide if you'd like, as long as the guide is paying for their rod. We're not opposed to guiding at all, because there's absolutely a place for that as well. But, it's an option. And a lot of the, clubs and private places, you're required to bring a guide, and that also becomes a cost prohibitive thing for a lot of folks, or maybe if they don't want a guide, that they feel capable of fishing and they know enough on the angling front. And, this is just another avenue.
Yeah, it's another option. That's a cool thing. It's another option.
Completely. Another option. And we're huge public landowner, public water proponents. Please don't hear me the wrong way. There's just a different way to do it. And we're at the forefront of changing the game as far as an industry disruption. And when we first got our brand out there last year in 2023, it was very much a awareness play for us. So a lot of our marketing dollars and so forth went to building awareness of our brand and what we're doing and the reasons why we're doing it. And that, as far as the industry as a whole, was a little hesitant in the beginning until they found out who we were and the people behind it. That industry adoption has been, being in the industry for as long as I have, I wasn't sure how folks were going to take it. But once they heard of who we are and what we're about, what we're really trying to do, industry adoption has actually been fantastic for us as a brand, for our partners within the industry and beyond our industry as well.
Picture this: you're casting your line into the pristine waters of the Togiak River, surrounded by untouched Alaskan wilderness. At Togiak River Lodge, the dream becomes a reality. Here, every cast brings a chance of a lifetime, battling salmon or reeling in that majestic rainbow trout. But it's not just the fish, it's the adventure. With Togiak's expert guides and exclusive access to over 30 miles of river, your fishing story is waiting to be written. And guess what? I'll be joining this summer too. Don't let this be the one that got away. Visit togiaklodge.com right now. That's Togiak, Togiak Lodge right now, and embark on your unforgettable journey. Remember, it's not just fishing, it's Togiak. So, I mean, I think where you're going is great. I think I see the value. You know, there's public waters, 100%. Everybody supports public waters. They're still great. We're not saying, you know, everything's going to be privatized, but there are options. Like if you have some money, you want to go and get a private section of water, essentially. And then really $150. I mean, I think I've heard some stat about people in the U.S. Most people only fish 6 times a year, something like that. So, you know, if you did all these paid, you know, that's still not too much money to have private waters. And then, like you said, you know, that's a pretty cool option.
Yeah, it's been great, and it's been well received. You know, we like I said, we're definitely on a growth trajectory right now. We're not only adding properties 3x since last year. You know, our customer base, those who want to visit these properties, has increased exponentially. So it's been a win-win on both sides, because we are a two-sided marketplace where we're focused on building supply, and then also at the same time simultaneously focusing on the demand side as well. So it's been a very exciting road, and we're figuring out a lot of things at the moment.
And how does I'm just looking at a couple other options that you have here. The season passes. What is that? Is that kind of like the same ski analogy?
Yeah, exactly. You nailed it. We've listened a lot, and one of the things that we recently launched, we actually launched it right before Black Friday of 2023, was a program that we called the Season Pass, and there's also a 4-rod pass. And essentially, I would think if you think of it like the ski industry, right, offers, you know, their Season Pass for lift tickets, where you have unlimited access, you know, no blackout dates, so forth. And then they also offer usually like a 4-day pass. If you look like an Icon or an Epic Pass, if you're familiar with the ski industry, we essentially didn't recreate the wheel here. We took a model that has been successful in the ski industry, and we adopted it into the fly fishing space. And the thing has created quite some ripples, and it's been way beyond what we were expecting in terms of forecasts and revenue. It's been a huge success for us. People get it. It's really an easy concept to understand, but essentially we're offering, for the first time ever in RareWaters history, is anglers can buy an unlimited day use pass, essentially, and also have the opportunity to buy a 4-day pass. So if you know you're going to fish or plan to fish for multiple days on RareWaters properties, you have an opportunity to buy it at bulk for a discount. And that not only is discounted, the season pass includes, I believe I don't misquote me, I think it's 8 buddy passes that you can have for your friends and family, offering about a 20% discount for those who go with you on the days that you want to go fish. And you literally have the keys to all of our properties and fish as many times as you want throughout the 2024 year. So it's very much like the ski industry model.
Yeah, same thing. And the value is, like you guys have there, is get early and you get a little bit of discount. I guess, like I was saying on my analogy or my chat, I was thinking, hey, if you're going 6 times a year, just say 10. If you're going to go 10, that's roughly $1,500. You can get the early bird. You can get the season pass to go as unlimited for $1,350.
Yeah, exactly.
And now does that allow, like, if somebody gets that, can they go literally, if they wanted to go every day for the year, they could do that if it was open?
Yes, they could, theoretically. The same with it, you know, as long as it's, you know, we're different in the ski industry in that, you know, ski industry has their season is based on snow and so forth. For the fishing industry, you know, it's as long as the fishing season's open.
Yeah, there's not ice.
You know, yeah.
That seems like a huge value.
You can do it. And we encourage it. Like, we want to get folks out on these properties. You know, it helps support the landowners that are out there as well. You know, there's often a belief that landowners are rich billionaires, and that's often not the case. And we come alongside these landowners, and some of these families have had these properties, you know, for 5 or 6 generations, and we can come alongside them and offer them passive income for the first time. And it can be a huge impact in these families' lives. And it can be the difference between their kids going to college and not going to college. You know, like, we can come alongside and partner with these longtime families and our longtime property owners that have, you know, have these properties that have been handed down through the generations, and be able to offer them something more than, you know, just, you know, if they're doing ag or they're moving heads of cattle on their property or so forth. Like, we can come alongside and help with that as well. And the season pass, you know, just further unlocks and gives just more access to anglers to fish all of our properties. And we've partnered with great, with brands that have helped support our mission. So there's industry deals and discounts throughout the year. You can get a custom engraved, just as a small example, custom engraved able reel, nippers, you name it. We'll have special events as well. So they're just for season pass holders, where they can come and fish with the crew, or we do these on tap events where we bring the community together. We'll meet at a community brewery in the greater Denver area and host, these community events where you learn how to tie flies with the Umpqua crew and so forth. So we're really, it's a much bigger than just selling a product and going out. We're really wanting to foster community and come about this in a very authentic way.
Perfect. Yeah, this is really cool. I mean, I definitely see the value. What has it been like, you said, from other folks in the maybe competitors doing something different, but selling trips or this sort of stuff? What sort of feedback have you gotten from them? Anything that's been positive or negative?
Yeah, it's been interesting. We're definitely leading the way in how we're doing it, because we are very different than what's been done in the past. But there's what I would call competitors in the space, but it's such a different platform. It's really hard to compare apples to apples. And like I was saying, that there's been a little bit of hesitation when we kind of showed up in our space. But for the most part, the adoption's been great. Flying to a trip to Patagonia, say, or down to Argentina, for example, it's such a different, like booking a trip through Yellow Dog, right? Which is, they're kind of like, those guys are kind of the bee's knees in our industry. Like, I don't see them as real competitors. If anything, I see them as we're a complement to what they're currently offering. We're not doing the fully catered, 5-course meal with 3 guides on hand at all times type of experience. We're very much doing something incredibly different. So I would say that we're actually just more complementary than
I think so too.
Than being competitors.
That's the way I see this, is that somebody could be going out, like we're going out to Montana, and we've got maybe we got a guide trip for a couple days on, the Clark Fork or something. And then I'm like, well, geez, we can get maybe a private day or 2 with you guys. And then maybe another 2 days doing something else, right? So it's this thing where you could just pick, and if it's open, you build your thing ahead of time. And then, right, it's like you could build your vacation around this if you wanted to, or go there for 7 days if you wanted to, right?
100%. Yeah, especially like the properties that allow for camping, right? Or lodging. You can stay multiple days, and it's great, to really settle in. Get the lay of the land, because often it can take takes half a day to figure out what's working and what's not anyway.
Right.
So
right. Is this also a trout? I'm assuming, just because it's Western states, this is trout focus. Is the vision looking ahead bigger? It sounds like you're waiting on all that stuff, but that you'll have other species other than trout.
100%. Yeah. This is a much bigger vision, but going back to building critical mass and really, to the best of our ability, doing what we know well first and modeling that out before expanding has been our primary focus. So our focus right now is, Western trout water for the time being. But I can't even tell you how many, just the whole bass fishery market and ponds and lakes and everything that's out there. It's pretty expansive. So it's monstrous. Little overwhelming when you think about it. But if we can get hyper-focused and build that critical mass in the places that we know and love right now, there's no reason that we couldn't model the same business case out to different fish species and different types of properties. And I think it can go beyond just the U.S. too. I think there's a global play here.
Definitely. So yeah, all sorts of opportunities. All right. Well, let's take it out of here with our, this is our conservation shout out segment here. And I always love to give a shout out. We mentioned you work for Patagonia, a great company. Are there any conservation groups you want to give a shout out as we go into the final section here?
Yeah, 100%. We were, I think, nominated or announced that we were partner of the year with Trout Unlimited. So we're big fans and last year we were kind of partners of the year, industry partners. Huge shout out to them for sure. They've been great partners since the early days of RareWaters, and in particular with the Colorado chapter. They've been a huge partner and advocate for us, and have helped us along the way as we were trying to figure this thing out. So can't say enough about them. Colorado Water Trust. There's community fly fishing led by Austin Campbell, who's one of our ambassadors. They're doing a lot of like philanthropic work too, right? So getting folks out on the water. We're not only just on the environmental front, but on the philanthropic front as well. We're just getting more folks out there that normally wouldn't fish. So we're always looking for those types of nonprofits, and we're open to all of that as well.
Perfect. And a couple of random ones as we get out of here. I guess one thing I haven't asked you exactly, what's your home water currently? I'm not sure where are you at as we speak.
Yeah, so I'm based in Ventura, California, where Patagonia is based. I am here while my kids are finishing school. We go grad little school down here, but we spend our summer months up in Bend, Oregon. Now I spend a lot of time out in Colorado. So our family's a little bit on the transient front. We do a lot of camping. Lived out of a Volkswagen van during a large section of our life when our kids were younger. So home right now is California based. Originally grew up near Tahoe, so the Sierras is what I would call my home water. But I just, on a personal front, just my home water, I travel a lot and get to fish some incredible spots. But I would say if I was to call home water, it would probably be a split between the awesome small little streams up in the Sierras mixed with a little bit of the Deschutes up in Oregon, up near Bend.
The Deschutes in the Bend area. Nice. Sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're doing some traveling. Cool. And the camper van. So I love hearing the camper van stories. Do you guys still have a camper van? You still use one?
Well, we actually just sold it. We had
you did?
Pretty rare Synchro 4x4 old Vanagon.
Oh, wow.
Deal. I had it for 15 years and I was just tired of working on it.
Oh yeah, Vanagon.
So we upgraded to a truck camper on a Ford F-350, big.
Oh, there you go.
7.3 liter diesel. So
yeah.
Gets us around, and yeah, we camp a lot as a family. So
yeah, what's your truck camper? So this is one where the camper's on the back of the pickup?
Yeah, exactly. It has like a little overhead over cab.
What's the camper model?
It's an old Oregon base. They went out of business, but they're really well built back in the day, called Pastime.
Okay.
Pastime camper.
Yeah, I think I've heard of Pastime camper.
So it's an Oregon-based company. I think they're out of Salem, I believe. But yeah, great little camper, gets us around. A lot bigger than Vanagon when you're traveling with a family.
Is it a lot bigger?
And a puppy. Yeah. It's like luxury. So yeah, I never thought I'd be the RV guy.
Right. But you got to have a big heavy duty truck, right? Because it's heavy. What does that thing weigh, the camper itself? Do you know?
It's like 2,500.
Okay. Yeah. So that's cool. I always love the camper story. So you guys still are doing some camper. What's your travel tip? Somebody's out on the road. Maybe they're going to one of your destinations. They saved a spot for, peak time, any tips on traveling? Maybe they're heading out there.
Yeah. I mean, tips, I would say, we've done little promotions here and there because some of our properties are somewhat striking distance in little quick day trips or a couple hours, between one another. And we have some properties that are, within 5 minutes drive of one another, depending on the zone. And so a lot of folks have done like these multi-day, like a spring break trip or like a summer week-long road trip, and they'll hit a number of our properties.
Oh,
so,
right.
If you're going and fishing the Arkansas or the Marine Fort in Colorado, like you can hit 3 to 5 of our properties and camp at each one and really like check the box off in terms of a great experience. I would say linking those up. We have an incredible team behind RareWaters. We have a couple folks in our customer success team that would be more than happy to help,
cool.
craft kind of a perfect week of travel. If you want to camp along the way, we're very well versed in the properties that in our portfolio that we offer, and you can craft a pretty rad week-long camping trip pretty easily. And it's easy, it's like one of those things that out here in California, camping's not cheap, right? And getting reservations alone is a nightmare. People can book 6 months in advance. Oftentimes campgrounds are full and it just can become a nightmare. And the reality with our properties, half of them you can camp on, and it's relatively inexpensive in terms, it costs roughly $50 per vehicle on most of our properties. And it just happens to have incredible, trout water at the front door of your camper van or your truck camper. And so it's kind of a neat deal. And so you can visit multiple properties within the same stretch of water, nearby water, pretty easily with the portfolio and the properties that we have on our platform.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. And the One of the advantages, yeah, if you book the property, that fishing, you can't guarantee fish, but there's going to be fish there at least, right? You're not booking places that don't
Yeah.
have, yeah.
Yeah. We're not in the business of land grabbing and trying to put as many ho-hum properties on our platform. We're very particular in what we're after. We have a full sales team that, goes out and vets the properties. It's probably the dream job out there in the industry, where you have to go, you got to make sure it fishes well. And, that's just part of the gig and part of the deal, that we want folks, when they think of a think of the RareWaters brand, that there's a level of quality and expectation to the, quote unquote product that we provide. More often than not, we want to assure that you're going to have the best experience as possible as an angler.
Perfect. Good. Well, anything else before we head out of here you want to give us that we haven't talked about today on what you have going?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing a lot with growing the number of our properties. If folks are interested, if you just go on rarewaters.com, you can, scroll down and you can subscribe to our email list. And any new properties that we onboard, they first get sent out to our email list to let them know that they just hit our profile page. And you could be some of the first people to fish these properties in a long time. For example, a California property that we launched probably about 6 months ago. The last time that it was known to have anglers on it was something like 8 years prior to when we posted it online. And that was from Uncle Barry that fished it once,
Sure.
So some of these properties are
Untouched.
Just absolutely fantastic. So yeah, you get a chance to fish some pretty special spots, and you have an opportunity to catch some pretty amazing trout. I would say that would be it. And then, obviously the season pass we just launched, there's been a lot of buzz behind that. It's definitely worth looking. The value that those things provides for an angler is pretty unparalleled to what's even out there in terms of value and what you can get from it if you utilize it. I'd say I'd take a hard look at that if you get a chance. And that, you can find all of that. We have a video about who we are and our story on our About Us page, and you can kind of really see the teams and see what we're up to and where we're heading.
There you go. Perfect. And what about on hoops? You mentioned your kid was playing hoops. Are you a big, were you basketball? Was that one of your sports back in the day?
I played a little bit of basketball. My wife has actually played varsity high school.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I got 2 boys and a little daughter, 14, 11, 9. And both my boys are avid. When they're not surfing, they're playing basketball. So,
right.
They're we actually have a game tonight that we got to go to. So,
there you go.
We're going to go watch them. Yeah. My little guy just was kind of the MVP of the night last 2 nights ago at a game.
Oh, wow.
And scored the buzzer,
Yeah.
Buzzer.
What's his position?
It was 19-19.
Oh, wow.
And his point guard, and he nailed it. It was just one of those moments, proud papahood.
Yep.
So, yeah, between all the fishing and all the incredible properties that we're landing, still a family man through and through. So
definitely
making sure checking those boxes.
How do you deal with that's one thing I struggle with is on the travel. How do you, your deal? It sounds like you're traveling a lot. How do you balance that with your family?
That's a great question. I'm fortunate enough that RareWaters is a business that's fully remote, right? So we have people all over the place. So I actually spend a lot of time now with my family, just because the nature of the business, and I can stay at home, so I can, rip to basketball practice or rip to a game pretty easily. Just it's a way more flexible type of work environment where you're not necessarily tied to an office. And then when travel plays, I guess I'd take it from my Patagonia days that, we work hard, we also play hard. And so if there's opportunities to bring the family along, or, take my kiddos on to some of these properties that we get to experience, I'm huge on making sure the culture of our team is healthy, right? And if you're overworked, overstressed, you're not spending time with your family, you're only going to be, worth so much to a team or to a company. And I would say that's just one of the things that I brought with me from Patagonia, that, that if your health and your mental state and your family affairs are in order, you're that much better of someone that can provide, all of themselves to their occupation or to the business that they partnered with. And any opportunities for our team to take advantage of that for family and stuff, we really hold each other accountable to make sure that we're taking care of what's really important, and if that's out of balance, then, we work hard as a team to make sure that we're supporting one another, make sure that all of that is in balance. So I don't know if that's
that's perfect.
That's necessarily a tip or an advice, but that's kind of the way that I operate and live. And I make sure that my team is in the same. And when we're out of balance, and it happens to all of us, we're all human.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
We keep each other accountable and hold each other up and to say, hey, you need to go be that dad, go be that mom.
Yeah.
We'll really spend that time and invest with their family, with their loved ones and their kiddos.
Perfect. No, I think that's a perfect way to leave this one off. Leave it off on the positive, the good stuff with the family. And we'll send everybody out to rarewaters.com if they have questions or want to dig into some of your trips. And I just want to say thanks to RJ for, shedding some light on this. Sounds like a really great product and service you guys have here. And I'm, hopefully you guys will keep expanding and you can, connect with some of our other listeners from around the country. But thanks for all your time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you out on the water.
That is a wrap. You can grab all of the show notes at wetflyswing.com. And please follow us on Instagram and share this episode out with someone you love. Please send me an email, dave@wetflyswing.com, if you have any feedback or want us to put together an episode on this podcast for you. Check in anytime. I hope you enjoyed this podcast and would love to meet up with you on the water. We have new fly fishing schools going all year long and all around the country. So if you want to connect, let's do it right now. All right, time to get out of here. I hope you have a great evening. I hope you have a great morning or great afternoon wherever in the world you are. And I appreciate you for stopping by and checking out the show today. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com.